Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So there was an increase in the housing starts from May into June. And this is not really that surprising considering that there was a backlog of projects that were stalled out during the lockdown. And those projects are now really ramping up and getting into gear now that people are starting to feel a little bit more confident about there being a recovery. Now, I'm still questioning the whole recovery thing, that I don't believe that we're actually in a recovery yet. I still think that we're in a downturn and we just haven't noticed it yet. Now, the Federal Reserve, with all their efforts in conjunction with the government, have done a tremendous job of papering over the issue. Now, think about if the extra unemployment that's about ready to run out here in a couple of weeks, if that was not given. Think about what would happen if the PPP loans, the payroll protection program, did not go out to the small business. Think about all the small businesses that took out loans during this time. There was a huge amount of debt that was taken out by the government in order to stimulate the economy with $1,200 checks to everybody. This was the papering over. That was a papering over of the problem. And they know that the situation is going to turn down again. They are talking all about it. Federal Reserve has mentioned it frequently. In fact, what was it? Bostic was I had done a video talking about how right off the bat he said this is a game of confidence, confidency to the markets, confidency to the investors out there that the Federal Reserve will do what they say they're going to do. And in their forward guidance, they're talking about a lot more quantitative easing, if that is needed, into the future. And I think about like how much money they have already printed up and injected into the system through these government stimulus programs, buying up the treasuries, buying up mortgage-backed securities, establishing the lending facilities through, special purpose vehicles, where they lend money to the special purpose vehicles, who in turn go out there and buy out, backstop pretty much all the debt out there, all the credit card debt, all the auto loan debt, all the money markets, all the municipal bonds, everything out there that could possibly have a loan attached to it has the Federal Reserve now backing it up with a special purpose vehicle. These are things that they would typically not be able to do during a time of normalcy, right? Whatever normal is anymore. These are tools that they can use in unusual and exigent circumstances. If they continue to use them, we're still in unusual and exigent circumstances. And they're talking about doing even more. I would assume that the next step for them would be yield curve control. And yield curve control is pretty much where they say that they are going to make sure that interest rates on a particular duration of bond do not exceed that number. We'll just pick out the 10-year. Say right now the 10-year it's like right around 0.6% yielding interest. And they say, okay, the Federal Reserve says, okay, well, no matter what, we're going to make sure that it stays at that 0.6%. And if it goes higher, we'll buy as many as it needs to drop back below the 0.6%. That's what yield curve control is. They pretty much will buy at any cost, at any amount, in order to maintain the yield at a particular level. And when they do this, they're causing interest rates to drop. And this is the main reason why housing is doing so well right now, is because they have record low interest rates, record low mortgages to work with. And so, yeah, anybody who is out there who is possibly interested in a house is very interested in buying a house now because of how low these rates are. But I look at the lumber industry right now, and it is in a very peculiar situation. Prices of lumber, retail prices, are going to skyrocket soon, guys. They are going to reach all-time highs. Now, for those of you who follow my channel for any length of time, you know that I look at 2x4/8 standard and better and 1/2-inch CDX. These are the two main components in building a house. Actually, any wooden structure, these are the two main components. And you probably use more of those than any other one particular piece of material when framing a house together. And it doesn't matter if you're building a 1,200 square foot ranch style house or a 5,000 square foot, beautiful place on the river somewhere. It doesn't matter the size of it. The material is the same. And right now we're seeing I mean, I was just checking retail prices on half-inch CDX, and if you're not familiar with half-inch CDX, it's like the skin that goes on the outside. You got your studs, which are the skeleton. Those are like the 2x4s and 2x6s, and then you got the CDX that goes on the outside of it. This is what goes on before all the doors and windows and siding and everything else goes on. Like I said, they're the two main components. And half-inch CDX right now, at least down here at the local lumber yard, is selling for $26. The highest I had ever seen it was $26.50. Lumber futures were at $6.50 per thousand when it was at $26.50. 2x4s, they were down at $2.50 just a few months ago, less than a year ago. Right now, they're at $4.60 a piece. There is a huge increase, and it's going to get even more. I would not be surprised to see 2x4 8 standard and better selling for $5 a stick. And if you go and you check out the futures prices, it was just a month ago that we were trading at $4.25 per thousand. Right now we're at $5.50. Go look at the chart. It's like a rocket ship. Lumber has had one of the biggest moves I had ever seen. And I have a friend who works in the logging industry, and he's telling me how slow it is. Mills during the lockdown were curtailing development, thinking that there was going to be a slowdown in building, and there was. Everybody went home for a while. But then the flood of projects came through. And as people were getting their stimulus checks, they wanted to improve their surroundings. And so they started putting up fences to block their neighbor's view. And they started building decks so they'd have a place to hang out while they're locked down at home. And the demand for pressure-treated lumber skyrocketed. And these pressure-treated companies had difficulty finding the sources in order to treat the lumber, to even get the lumber in to treat it. Now there's this huge demand and very low inventory, and the prices are just going up nuts. They're just going nuts. And now the next one I see coming up that I haven't ever had any issues with. Now, for those of you who don't know, I work at the lumber yard. So one of the main components that we sell around here for exterior trim is cedar. Cedar is a very common component of building a home, especially up here in the Pacific Northwest. And the majority of the western red cedar, at least from what I've seen, comes out of Canada. And right now we are having difficulty sourcing out cedar, and the prices are starting to climb. Building a home over the next year is going to be a very difficult thing to stay competitive and profitable in. Because I feel that once these forbearance period ends and people have to go back to making their mortgage payments, we're going to start seeing a lot more delinquencies. We're already seeing a lot of delinquencies outside of the forbearance. Like, once you take forbearance, you're no longer considered delinquent, or never gone. Even if you don't make your payment, you're not considered delinquent. But the delinquencies outside of the forbearance system are starting to rise. And when the forbearances end and people have to start making their payments again, and they realize that they're not getting their extra $600 a month from the federal government, then they too will start going delinquent on their mortgages. And we're going to start seeing a lot more foreclosures taking place, and a lot more houses coming onto the market, making it even more difficult for the builders to stay competitive and profitable. Right now, it looks great for them. Very low inventory, high demand on account of the mortgage rates being down. But once the rental moratorium ends, and once the forbearance period ends, and once these unemployment checks stop flowing, we're going to start seeing some serious issues come up with the real estate market, with the housing market. Now, that isn't saying that the government can't come back out with some stimulus checks or something like that and, try and save the market again. But what are they going to do? Are they going to do this every single month? Are they going to go UBI, Universal Basic Income for everybody? $1,200 a month for every adult from now on? How long does that last before the system really starts to deteriorate? They say that the Federal Reserve is going to run inflation over 2% for a while to make up for the fact that they have been running under 2%. They can't even get to 2%. How are they going to be running it hotter than 2% for a while if they can't even get there? Now, I know the way that most people look at inflation is through food and fuel because that's what you spend most of your money on. But that's not the way the Federal Reserve does it, and it's not the way the government looks at it. The way they look at it, we're still running less than 2% interest, or 2% inflation. And they're going to shoot for higher than 2% over the next few years. That's what they want to try and do before they start raising interest rates. There is a very strange time we're living in here, guys. Things are not the way they seem. The Federal Reserve has but one tool that is their most effective tool, and that's their forward guidance. It's their credible threats. It's them convincing the markets, convincing the investors, convincing the people that they are going to do what they say they're going to do. Yeah. We're in for a new system, a new monetary system, a new way of making payments, a new economy. I mean, there is a change definitely happening here, guys. And it's funny, when I first started looking at this stuff, I used to see it and I would think, man, this stuff is happening so fast, but it takes a long time. I mean, this may take years to unfold before we start seeing what it is that really is happening here. But I feel it's heading towards a digital currency. I think, honestly, they're going to try and go cashless. It's one of the reasons why we're starting to see change become harder to find at the store. Issues are, coming up with people not having enough change to even make change, so they're asking for either exact payments or use your credit cards or debit cards. They're pushing for a cashless society. You can see it coming if you just think about it. And they're going to need a cashless society if they ever take interest rates into negative. That's one of the reasons why I don't see negative interest rates anytime soon. So as long as we have cash in the system, I don't think we're going to see negative interest rates. But once they get everybody out of the cash, get everybody into a digital currency, a central bank digital currency, then we're going to start seeing some negative interest rates taking place. Anyway, thought I'd do a little bit of a mail call. I only have one piece of mail today, which is just fine, from Miss Kim out of Florida. So thank you, Miss Kim, and we're going to see what's in here. Oh, wow. Oh, holy moly. Whoa. Are you serious? $100? You sent me $100? Oh my gosh, Kim, thank you so much. And there's a nice, beautiful silver piece here. What is this? My gosh, Kim, thank you so much. $100. I can't believe it. Right on. And it's a silver piece. Who is this from? SMI. Who is that? I can't remember what mint that is. Very cool. Thank you so much, Kim. I say Kim, and I mean, I guess I could be wrong. It may not be female. You might be a male. I didn't think about Kim being either. Could be either way. So thank you, Kim. We very much appreciate it. Let's take a look here. Thanks for all the good macro information and insight from your podcast. I have learned a lot from young guys like you and George Gammon. I'm almost 70. Don't get discouraged by the times we live in. My wife. So it is. I'm sorry, Kim. I Mr. Kim, I should say. Maybe it's still wife. I don't know. Maybe it's still. Who am I to judge? I don't. Anyway, Don't get discouraged by the times we live in. My wife and I weren't sure we would make it out of our 1960s and 70s. Just do the right thing for yourself, family, and friends. You and your subscribers have the wisdom to know what that means. Best wishes to you and your family. Keep a macro coming, Kim. Thank you very much, Kim. I very much appreciate it. Very cool of you for sending the $100 in this beautiful silver piece. Yeah. It's amazing. I love this channel, and I love doing this, and yeah, I can't ever imagine myself not doing something like this. So, every day, as soon as I end this video, I immediately start thinking of what the next video is going to be. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.